next question, and I hope I'm pronouncing this name correctly, is from Arn Musha to Danny. After the U.S. withdrew from Afghanistan and Jake Sullivan and Blinken focus now on China, how would it affect the Philippines with the United States continuing to support the regime there? Shouldn't that be paid more attention to?
Well, sure. I mean, one of the interesting things about the war on terror, as they used to call it, is in some ways it's always overlapped with a broader interest among the war industry and among the military class and military brass, I should say, to pivot to great power competition. That's what they call it, GPC. It's actually more profitable to make big weapons for cold wars that get hot and destroy the species. That's always been true. Then, the weapons for counterinsurgency. I mean, forever war is profitable. Nation building may not have worked in Afghanistan, but it sure as heck worked in the counties of Northern Virginia, where the war industry executives lived, and they literally nation built extensions on their houses. So that is true, that it is profitable, but making tanks and making F-35s and destroyers and nuclear weapons, that's always been profitable. And the military has always liked the idea of those wars. This happened after Vietnam, too. It's actually really hard to win a counterinsurgency. I mean, they almost never work. I mean, for a lot of reasons. I mean, it's really, people don't like being invaded. I mean, my soldiers used to say to me, I hate the Iraqi insurgents so much, I hate the Taliban so much, and I'd say, did you like the movie Red Dawn, though? And they would say, yeah, sure did. If the Russians ever came to Texas, we'd show them a thing or two, and they probably would, because the truth is people don't like being occupied. It's really hard. It's really hard when you work with illegitimate governments that you put in place that aren't seen as legitimate, and it's just really hard to beat people on their home turf, and you shouldn't try. So historically, that's the case. The military likes what it knows, or what it thinks it knows, which is big tank battles in the Fulda Gap against the Russians. I guess now we've moved that east to Ukraine, Poland, and the Baltic. And the Navy and the Air Force, they really like the Pacific. They want to fight in the Taiwan Straits. They like force on the force. They don't like or don't realize how bloody our nose is going to get if we try in either of those scenarios. But the point is, in the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton was a big champion of this. Jake Sullivan, of course, was Hillary Clinton's lapdog for quite some time. I mean, assistant. Hyperhawk, Jake Sullivan. Scary guy to be National Security Advisor. But during the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton was a big champion of the pivot to Asia. And the pivot to Asia is this idea that the real enemy is China. The real problem is great power competition. Russia got back on the radar in a big way because of Trump and just everything that was going on with that, some of which I think was overblown. But because of Russia's notion that there was a Trump-Russia complicity, they're back in a big way. And the Ukraine and all this. So, but one of the results of a pivot to Asia is not just that you can't win a nuclear war against either Russia or China. The human race can't survive one. And not just that, it would actually be really, really hard to win. And America's probably not ready for 500 sailors to go to the bottom of the sea when a missile, right, a land-to-sea missile hits one of them, an area denial missile. But it forces, they think, in Washington, these are the pragmatists, mind you. These are the liberal interventionists who are saying this, as well as the conservatives, but, they're dead to me. What they're saying is that in order to beat China, we have to put a coalition together in Southeast Asia and throughout Asia, and that means we need to ally ourselves with anybody who's contesting an island against China. Now, it's called the South China Sea, so it makes me think it's probably close to China, and it turns out it is. And one wonders how the United States would handle another country, be it Russia or China, having the temerity suggest that not only should they have naval parity, but they should have naval supremacy in perpetuity in a sea named after that country. In the Caribbean, in other words. In Boston Harbor, essentially. Now, this doesn't excuse every Chinese action. This doesn't excuse the actions of their government. It doesn't excuse even some of their somewhat aggressive behavior in the islands that are contested in, say, the South China Sea. But the point is, people like Duterte, right? People who are nefarious actors who are seen as necessary allies get in power. And this really, really works out for the realists in Washington who say that we have to pivot to Asia, but it also really works out for the war industry because it opens the spigot up. I mean, we love to open the spigot of our war industry spending, military industrial complex blood money, to countries that are seen as necessary evils, necessary allies against a worse enemy. That's how we get, the essentially ISIS-like government of Saudi Arabia buying Patriot missile systems in perpetuity from the United States. When we have a string of allies, you show me a Cold War type enemy, and I'll show you, dastardly dudes, and they're usually dudes, but not always, that we're supporting in a ring around them. I mean, you could draw a semicircle around the country, and I'll just point out the countries where we're fueling these people. So I think it's an important question. I droned on a little bit there because I think it's key, because I said that one thing's going to happen, I hope I'm wrong, in the aftermath of Afghanistan, to the extent that it's an aftermath, is that we'll do these low-level wars as an abstraction, invisible, via proxy and tech-savvy solutions in places like Africa and the Middle East, but I think we're also going to genuinely pivot, and that's seen as a positive even among liberal interventionists in the Democratic Party. That's seen as the smart move, but the action, of course, for the people of the Philippines and other locales in the ring surrounding Russia and the ring surrounding China is that this will go on, and of course it will fuel those suburbs in Northern Virginia. So I think that there has to be a broader action against the budget, against foreign aid sales, foreign military funding. So not only for our own obscene budget that grows like the universe, meaning forever, and I don't understand how that works, I'm not a scientist, still don't get it, but the budget is just like that, the military budget at least. And also we have to take a hard look at the funding, the direct sales as well as the foreign military funding. A lot of this is cloaked in the budget lines in ways that it doesn't seem like it's part of our defense budget, but of course it is. So it's a long but hopefully helpful answer.